Welcome to The Mortgage Life, a space for down-to-earth conversations about how mortgages contribute to your life.
Well, that sounds canned and maybe a little boring.
What? There are so many parts to the mortgage industry and real estate finance we can explore and share with our listeners.
Okay, you're right. You're right, Mindy. Our goal is to help secure our clients' financial future.
I'm Pete Solomosi.
I'm Mindy Bodwin.
And I'm Sue Solomosi. We're your hosts. Welcome to The Mortgage Life.
Are you buying a home this year?
Yes.
Check out our top tips. Here they come.
There's so many things to consider, though, when you're looking at purchasing a property. But I think this is a really relevant topic for us to be talking about.
Totes.
Purchasing. Everybody's talking about purchasing right now, and probably because there is no supply on the market.
I was looking at the stats this morning from October 2021, and the supply, both North, Central, and South Okanagan, they were down between 30 and 50% from the prior year. So the supply. That's just the number of houses that are listed.
And that's been a trend that we've been seeing over the past year, hey, Mindy?
Yeah, absolutely. Yet the number of transactions taking place seems to be increasing. So yes, this is a big part of why we felt that this topic was so relevant. 2021, transactions are moving very quickly. Desirable properties had multiple offers.
And undesirable properties had multiple offers.
This is true. Prices were escalating quickly in multiple offer scenarios. You had clients that were wanting to buy a house for, say, $900,000, and all of a sudden, through this multiple bid process, the purchase price goes to over $1 million. Once you hit that $1 million mark, the down payment requirements change. You've got to come up with 20%. So I found we were ending up with a lot of frustrated buyers.
And those frustrated buyers led to questions like whether or not they should include a subject to financing in their offer. Is that going to make their offer look more desirable? Side note, I will never recommend going in without a subject to financing.
So we wanted to provide a focused episode for you that you can take 5 pieces of information, sort of put it in your back pocket when you're out there shopping for real estate and looking at your financing needs this year.
So what are they? What are our 5 top tips for purchasing?
Top tips!
Top tips!
Top tips if you're buying this year.
The first piece that I'm looking at here is know your why. And when I'm saying why, I'm talking about property type and ownership goals. Why do you want to buy real estate now? Things to consider are you going to be buying a condo? Are you a entry-level buyer, or maybe you're going to be downsizing from a larger home? Are you looking at an urban location versus a suburban or rural location? Are you looking at your standard single detached home? Or perhaps you're looking at increasing because you have a growing family. Maybe you already have your family home and you're looking at a rental property purchase. All of these elements have to be clearly defined at the outset because they will guide your purchasing decisions and your financing.
So are you saying that you should consider whether or not you're going to have a dog, whether you want to be mowing the rear lawn, even the front lawn?
Whether or not you're going to have to pay condo fees?
Absolutely. Why do you need to know your property type at the outset? It's going to streamline your shopping. You're going to understand your costs associated. For example, when you buy a condo, you're going to have condo fees. And this all comes into your monthly cash flow. How much is your outlay? This is going to factor into how much mortgage you can qualify for, which we'll get to in a little bit here. But these all factor into your purchase decision.
So why are you purchasing? I think that's just a general question, not just this year, any year. Why is it that you want to purchase, and what are you after?
Yeah, and those are really good points. And that brings us to the what, which is really setting your goals and expectations. So we do that really with numbers because we work with numbers and mortgages are all about numbers. So one of the big things that we want to look at is what you qualify for and what you have in terms of a down payment. Next is to set your expectations for not only the purchase price, but your monthly payments. And that's going to come from a little bit of calculation. You can do this in a couple of ways. First off is to know exactly what you're starting off with from your down payment. So check your accounts, find out how much you have access to in terms of your own accounts, plus what you might receive from gifted funds, and take that and you can use a calculator. So we've got a great calculator on My Mortgage Toolbox, which is our app.
That's our app.
You can find it on our website.
And shameless plug here. And the app lets you input your income figures. It lets you input the down payment that you have and any other assets and monthly obligations that you might have. And it'll give you an amount that you would qualify for based on the qualification criteria set out by the government. So you will then see what is available to you. Now, that number might be similar to what you've set in your goals and expectations. It might be higher and it might be lower, but it'll at least give you the actual figure. And then you can start to match those up in terms of what you expect versus what is available.
So from there, you're going to lead into possibly a pre-approval. So that's your next step, getting a professional opinion on what you can afford over and above using an online calculator or an app or whatever it is that you choose. So this next step of getting a more in-depth pre-approval from a mortgage professional is going to involve documentation. So proving what it is you're claiming for income, proving what it is that you have for your down payment. So in order for us to line you up with a lender, we need to see all the numbers on paper. We need to verify that those are your accounts and this is all what's happening in your name. From there, we basically pre-underwrite the file. We take a look at the numbers. We take a look at your goals and expectations for your purchase price, and we put it all together into a more formal rate hold. So those rate holds can be held for up to 120 days. This is not your financing subject. This is a preliminary mortgage approval based on the information provided. Once you find a property that you want to purchase, that's going to take us to the next step of the live offer. But at this point, what we're doing is just giving you a really solid idea of what you can accomplish in your purchasing goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So from there, Mindy, I think we talked about building your team.
Yeah. So once you get to that point that Sue was just mentioning, where you've found the property that you're going to purchase, you know that you can afford the purchase price and you're ready to go put your offer in. It's really important to have a strong team around you that you trust.
Oh, trust. That's such a big deal.
It is. It really is. When I say the word trust, I mean, they need to understand your expectations. They need to have your best interests at heart when they're making these decisions for you. As a mortgage broker, we have access to a lot of lenders. Each lender has different parameters that they work within. It's our job to find the right lender for you. Another member of your team, of course, is the realtor that you choose. You need to have a realtor that understands you and what your goals are, because they're going to be helping you put together the purchase and sale agreement. They're going to be helping you put in those subject to financings that we mentioned earlier. Those are critical elements. We have to keep you protected in this transaction. Other team members to consider are your lawyer. The lawyer is going to be the one that's ultimately going to handle this transaction for you. Your insurance advisor. We found this to be really important last year with the fire season. And now with the flooding, there's actually going to have we're actually going to do a future episode on the property insurance requirements. And we're going to have an insurance advisor, which is going to be great. I'm actually really looking forward to asking them questions, because we have seen so many random things happen this year.
I don't know if I've ever had so many people ask me if I've got an insurance agent to refer them to, because they can't find the appropriate kind of insurance for the property that they want.
Yeah, I've never come across that until this year.
It's been interesting, that's for sure. So this is all part of your team, your trusted team of advisors that are going to help you accomplish your goal of home ownership.
Once you've developed your team, you've gone through the process, and you are almost ready to get the keys to that new house, there's the next piece.
Which is the last step, which is our last tip, our last purchasing tip, which is understanding the process, the closing process. Let's try that. Understanding the closing process and any costs that might be associated with that. So this is an expensive process.
And above your down payment, you need to make sure you have those closing costs handy. So what are they, Pete?
So There's costs that come at kind of two different parts during the process. The first part is actually during the process where you have found the property and you're making an offer. So that typically includes an appraisal. So you'll want to find out property value and whether the property is in fact of the value that you've made the offer on. As well, home inspection. So home inspection typically is a cost that you'll want to undertake to make sure that the property doesn't have any significant deficiencies.
An interesting one too that we come across and some people don't really realize as a cost is their deposit. So
That's
your
right.
deposit on your subject removal, it's eventually going to form part of your down payment, but it is money that you're going to need ahead of time.
Exactly. And that's usually required within 24 hours of subject removal. So make sure you have those funds available. So that's that part of the process. The next part is right near the end, right before you take possession of the property, before closing. And that includes costs such as the property transfer tax. So if you're in a province that has a property transfer tax, that can be a significant cost to make sure that you have, as well as the legal fees. So the lawyer will charge you fees to register on title. In addition to that, you've also got things that may be included like title insurance, property insurance, which we just talked about, and any adjustments for property taxes and property utilities. Last thing as well, and this is kind of we got to sneak this one in here because I think it's a cost that most people don't account for, but moving costs.
Oh, I was going to sneak it in.
Sneak it in. Moving costs. So if you're moving across the town, it might be fairly inexpensive, but it still may be $1,000. If you're moving across the country, it could be a significant expense. So make sure you look at what it costs to move and account for that as part of your closing costs.
Felt like you wanted to finish that really quickly.
Buying a home or an investment property is a huge financial decision.
It is a huge financial decision, and it's a stressful decision. Most clients that we work with are in a high stress situation. You're borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars from a bank to help you purchase this home. This is the biggest financial decision of your life.
And quite often depleting their savings in a down payment as well, right?
Yeah. And so as long as you understand where your money's going
and can plan for it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And what's happening, it makes the process a lot smoother.
Setting goals, planning, being organized, having a strong team, these all make the process so much smoother and easier to understand.
Okay, well, I really like to do a summary because I like numbers. So here's the summary of the 5 top tips if you're purchasing this year. Number 1, know your why. Get those details of your property type and all the goals that you want to have. Number 2, know your what. Get that pre-approval, know how much you have for a down payment, and get some solid figures listed. Number 3, know your how. So not only are we going to get those numbers figured out, but actually submit the documents and get the exact figures. Number 4, know who's on your team. Build that team and find the people that will help you achieve your goals. And number 5, understand the closing process and costs. That's it. That's our top 5 tips.
Top 5 tips, everybody. Come back and listen.
This is The Mortgage Life.
We look forward to continuing the conversation.
So come back and listen.